Are you looking for the best gaming laptop? In this video we will look at some of the 7 best gaming laptop on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description, so make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Number 1. Asus ROG Strix Scar 16 2023. The Asus ROG Strix Scar 16 has taken over from the Razer Blade 15, still featured below, as the best gaming laptop we've had our hands on yet. This thing flies through anything you can throw at it, without reaching the dizzying heights of other premium RTX 40 series rigs. That's because the Strix Scar puts its power exactly where a PC gaming enthusiast wants it: cooling, CPU efficiency, and GPU power, all while still offering a crisp set of RGB panels and a mini LED display worthy of its next-generation chassis. This isn't a machine for the more subtle amongst us, though. While the RGB panel running across the lower lip can be switched off, this is still very much a gaming laptop. The translucent design across the main deck wasn't quite our favorite touch and does add to this gamer aesthetic while slightly cheapening the experience, but this is down to personal preference. The lid sports a large ROG logo and a series of etched diagonal lines along the chunky grille towards the back, further removing this rig from your everyday office laptop. However, it's not such an in-your-face design, and putting those LEDs to sleep certainly keeps the vibe slick. Features: we've also got one of the best screens we've had the pleasure of using on a gaming laptop. Asus has branded its mini LED screens Nebula HDR, and they sing. Between 1024 dimming zones and 100 plus nits of peak brightness, colors pop with an excellent vividity and balance well with a deep, rich contrast. Throw in Dolby Atmos and a solid virtual surround system and you've got a seriously immersive experience. That's, of course, backed up with a high-end set of configuration options. The ROG Strix Scar 16 can move up to an i9-13980HX CPU with an RTX 4090 card. Those are specs that are sure to satisfy anyone looking for a top-shelf rig. Performance: we tested an RTX 4080 rig with the Intel i9-13980HX processor that comes with both this and the 4090 configuration, drawing a 17,611 times SPI score and 32,876 Fire Strike score to beat out the Asus ROG Zephyrus M16 by some margin. The Scar 16 even beat the larger and far more expensive RTX 4090 toting Razer Blade 18 in these benchmark tests as well. Those are numbers that will comfortably see you through the next 5 years of gaming, and potentially much more if we don't see any particularly demanding graphical breakthroughs. No, frame rates weren't as impressive as the ROG Zephyrus Duo 16 listed below, but equally you're not spending an extra $1,000 on a fancy second screen, and the power to run it you might not use. Plus, at 3-figure frame rates in ultra settings across demanding titles, there's no arguing the raw horsepower baked into this machine. Number 2. Acer Nitro 5. It's not about to blow anyone away with flashy features or top-tier performance, but the Acer Nitro 5 is a very respectable choice of gaming laptop for the busy gamer who doesn't want to break the bank. The Acer Nitro line has a distinct look about it. The most recent Nitro 5 doesn't stray too far. It's a plastic chassis which can collect fingerprints quickly but feels remarkably durable in the hand. It also helps that at 2.3 kilograms this is one of the lighter gaming laptops on the market right now. Yes, those bezels do keep the screen from looking its best and the angled corners and harsh lines feel a little old-fashioned, but overall this is an inoffensive design scheme for a cheaper laptop. Features: regularly available for under $1,000/£1,000, the RTX 3060 Nitro 5 manages to pack some impressive components into a budget price tag by dropping nice-to-have features. That makes it perfect for anyone after raw power without all the fancy extras that can sometimes bloat gaming laptop costs. A good full-scale keyboard with numpad makes this laptop appropriate for both work and play. That means it's a great replacement for a full-tower desktop PC at home that also offers portability thanks to its relatively low weight as gaming laptops go. We found the screen to be somewhat dull compared to other laptops in the same price range, and the battery life is decidedly unimpressive, but given the budget cost, these do feel like fair trade-offs. Especially since the display does retain an excellent 144 Hz refresh rate. Performance: the RTX 3060 GPU paired with a Ryzen 5800H processor offered up strong performance in our testing, hitting 86 frames per second in high settings on the Division 2 and only dropping to 77 frames per second in Ultra. While the SSD could be a bit speedier, it's not going to cause any major headaches. Most games will run above 60 frames per second at maximum settings, and ray tracing is also an option, though it does come with an associated performance hit. Number 3. Asus ROG Zephyrus G14 2024. The 2024 Asus ROG Zephyrus G14 changed the game again, adding a glorious OLED display and cutting its top-end components from the lineup to achieve a more ultrabook-oriented slimline design. This is a masterpiece for those after the best possible experience at the intersection between power and portability. Asus has done away with its iconic LED matrix lid and instead opted for a much cleaner and personally preferable for this reviewer, single diagonal stripe. Alongside a new unibody CNC milled aluminum chassis, MacBook Pro-esque light gray, and slimline base, this is a gaming laptop designed to fit in with high-end ultrabooks. Dropping bigger components like the RTX 4080 and RTX 4090 from its lineup means the G14 is now one of the lightest rigs on the market at just 1.5 kilograms, all while still retaining a particularly durable form factor. Features: we'll have to kick off with that display. Asus partnered with Samsung for this OLED panel and the results are incredible. Everything leaps off the screen, from simple developer logos on Game Boot to the frenzied colors of Cyberpunk 2077. It's a little slower in the refresh rate department, but in everyday play the incredible color contrast and super vivid effect overall made for an excellent experience. Those specs have taken a slight hit this year. The 8000 series Ryzen 9 processor is a marginal upgrade from 2023's model, and GPUs now start at RTX 4050s and cap out at an RTX 4070. That means the overall output is going to be lower, traded out for a more slimline build. Performance: no, the 2024 Asus ROG Zephyrus G14 isn't going to perform as well as an RTX 4090 model from the previous generation. But with that excellent screen and super slick form factor, it doesn't necessarily need to. The RTX 4070 in our testing device was more than capable of staying at over 100 frames per second at 1080p in most games, and often held that position in QHD+ as well. Performance here is on par with a similarly spec'd Razer Blade 14, though for a lower price, with a notable improvement further up the resolution scale. Number 4. Razer Blade 15 2022. We got our hands on a beast of a Razer Blade 15, but it showed us just how powerful 15.6-inch gaming laptops can be. The RTX 3080Ti9-12900H configuration I had on my desk was a true monster in its performance. However, this rig's ability to offer such performance while keeping the slimline chassis we've all come to know and love really cemented its top spot among the best gaming laptops on the market. You know the drill by now. This is a Razer laptop, so expect a matte black brick with nothing but a shiny green Razer logo on the lid. The Blade 15 follows these design rules to a T, shimmying all those high-end components into a slimline build with nearly every detail paid due luxury attention. We say nearly every, because while this is a solid chassis, we did still notice some considerable flex in the display and wobble in the hinge. Still, this is as skinny as the majority of 15.6-inch laptops go, so there's only so much that back panel can take. The hinge itself proved to be super strong in our testing, so we didn't have too many concerns. Features: opening the lid, you'll find a number padless keyboard with extra ventilation underneath as well as a 4K display up top. This is a particularly strong screen, especially considering it managed to keep up with more demanding games in our benchmarking. Outside of performance numbers though, the vibrancy and clarity this panel will give all your games is unparalleled and certainly makes for a far more immersive experience. Under the hood, Razer has managed to shove an RTX 3080 Ti into this chassis. At the time of review, only a handful of gaming laptops could boast this powerful GPU, and considering the i9 CPU it comes with, there's plenty of power for those who can wrangle it. Performance: I managed to run Shadow of the Tomb Raider at 74 frames per second in 4K with everything turned up to 11 here. While more demanding titles still struggled in that UHD resolution, though, I was still impressed with the 60+ FPS in 1440p on Red Dead Redemption 2 as well as the 78 frames per second in the same resolution on The Division 2. I only needed to drop some more taxing visual effects to hit higher frame rates in 4K, and everything looked incredible while doing so. Number 5. Alienware M18. The Alienware M18 goes toe-to-toe with the Asus ROG Strix Scar 18 below in terms of sheer performance, but falls slightly behind the most powerful title. However, with a range of configuration options, a slick design, and features more geared towards desktop usage, it's the best 18-inch gaming laptop overall in our books. The Alienware M18 had a surprise for us when we first opened the box. Gently sloping the front lip to a thin taper means that the whole design feels more manageable than the more boxy Strix Scar 18 below. No, this isn't a portable laptop by any means, you're still picking up a massive 410 by 319 by 25 mm footprint and a considerable 4.23 kg weight, but that slicker design makes it look a little less chunky on a desktop. Elsewhere, you've got all the design staples of an Alienware rig. A cool aluminum lid sports an embossed 18 along the top, with the plastic main body holding onto the same gray aesthetic throughout. Of course, there's still a nice RGB light show to take in, with a more subtle approach than Asus. Features, of course, the big player here is that 18-inch screen. Dell has made some interesting decisions with the specs it offers here. There are only two options, QHD plus 165 Hz or FHD plus 480 Hz. It would have been nice to have a middle option. Both the Razer Blade 18 and Asus ROG Strix Scar 18 have found happy homes in the QHD plus 240 Hz region. While motion is still slick, higher frame rate games could stand to benefit a little more from improved handling overall. We also noticed that this display runs less bright than both Razer and Asus's options and doesn't offer any additional HDR capabilities. However, with an excellent port selection, 1080p webcam built-in, and a full-sized keyboard with full-size number pad, this feels like a real desktop PC alternative. Working particularly hard in the M18's favor though, is the component options. With RTX 4060 configurations on the table at sub-$2,000 prices, the Alienware M18 is winning in the choice category. That's perfect if you're after big-screen entertainment but don't want to splash thousands on graphics cards you won't make the most of. Performance: the Alienware M18 almost bested the Strix Scar 18 in our testing, even beating it in a handful of benchmarking scenarios. While the Asus rig remains top dog, though, there's still some incredible performance under the hood here. In fact, the M18 performed better in more demanding titles like Returnal and Total War: Three Kingdoms, and always packed three-figure frame rates well into the highest graphics settings in native resolution. Number 6. Asus ROG Strix Scar 18 2023. Editor's note: there is a new 2024 Asus ROG Strix Scar 18 on the shelves now, but improvements under the hood are marginal, resulting in performance largely on par with, and sometimes below, the 2023 option. You are upgrading to a ROG Nebula Mini LED display with the new model, but considering we benchmarked higher numbers on last year's rig, we're keeping 2023's iteration in its place here. 18-inch gaming laptops are here, and while the majority struggle to define themselves against cheaper desktop PCs and infinitely more portable 16-inch laptops, the Asus ROG Strix Scar 18 just about wiggles its way into the top spot. After all, with benchmark numbers putting it right at the top of our scoring table and just toppling over the Asus ROG Zephyrus Duo 16, it's the most powerful rig we've tested to date. And that can't be ignored. Looks are subjective, but the translucent plastic and RGB lights aren't the most subtle of aesthetics and won't be for everyone. That plastic chassis is a little disappointing in this price range, at first glance. Taking one look at the nearly $5,000 price tag on the all-aluminum Razer Blade 18 has us running back to this cheaper build, though. The plastic may feel a little less luxurious, but it's solid, dense, and feels durable underhand. Instead, it's the ports that are going to get in the way of things. You're getting a solid selection, but placing each connection on the left or right flank of a gaming laptop designed to sit and remain, this thing is 80% heavier than the Zephyrus G14, on a desk is an oversight. Those cables are going to get messy fast. Features: Asus has steered clear of adding an expensive mini LED display to its Scar 18, focusing the cost on its components instead, but we were still impressed by the clarity and contrast of this speedy 240 Hz panel. Plus, this way we can enjoy the top-of-the-range Intel i9-13980HX processor, and that's not something many gaming laptops can boast. With a full-sized, yes, including a number pad, keyboard, for excellent speakers, a MUX switch, and some strong cooling, there's still plenty going on here. That's a better feature set than the Razer Blade 18, which neglects the number pad, in a chassis that stays lighter than the Alienware M18. Performance: this is where we get to the good part. Before testing the Scar 18, the dual-screen Zephyrus Duo 16 was the best-performing gaming laptop we'd had our hands on. Yes, the Duo 16 was pitching slightly lower numbers while running that second display, but on paper, the 18-incher has left it in the dust. With Fire Strike coming in at 34,507 and Time Spy pitching in with a 20,132 score, things were already off to a good start. It beat the RTX 4090 Razer Blade 18's 26,844/16,367 respective scores by a mile and leveled out with the 4090 Zephyrus's 36,768/15,713 numbers. Number 7. HP Omen Transcend 16. We previously had the super skinny Alienware X14 in as the best slimline gaming laptop, but its drawbacks in the power department mean the slightly thicker but ultimately far more powerful HP Omen Transcend 16 has stolen the top spot. With components moving up to Intel 13th generation i9 processors and an RTX 4070 GPU, there's plenty more choice here, and an excellently portable design to boot. A slimline gaming laptop is always going to feel compact, but there's something about the slick matte black aesthetic and cool magnesium alloy materials that make the Transcend feel all the more svelte. It's a Razer-esque design language that works well, and while it doesn't feel as solid or premium as the real thing, it certainly looks and feels great. It helps that the whole thing weighs in at just 2.1 kilograms. That's one of the lightest gaming laptops running these kinds of components we've had on the test bench. While we did find the bezels to be a little more pronounced than you'll find on something like the Asus ROG Zephyrus G14 above, there's still plenty of screen space sitting above an improved hinge. Features: unlike the Alienware X14, the components available here are going to satisfy the vast majority of players out there. Bumping options up to an RTX 4070 and Intel i9 means only the very top end of the market isn't catered to here. However, if you're looking to spend more, you can outfit your rig with a mini LED 240Hz QHD Plus display, up to 32GB DDR5 5600MHz RAM, and 2TB of SSD storage space. Those are some hefty specs, all crammed neatly into the very same ultra-portable chassis. We tested a 1080p job, and even at this lesser-used resolution we were impressed with the quality of the display. It's not going to satisfy the cravings of an RTX 4070 GPU, but our 4060 test unit proved that there's still a spot for FHD gameplay in today's generation. Around the sides, we were also impressed by a generous selection of ports, one of the first things to go in a slimline design. Between two USB-C Thunderbolt 4 options, an RJ45 and a couple of USB-As, you're covered for pretty much everything here. Performance: even with our humble RTX 4060 whirring away under the hood, the HP Omen Transcend managed to put up some excellent numbers. Between 100+ frame rates in the majority of our in-game benchmark tests and Time Spy/Fire Strike scores that can battle with the best of them, everything is working particularly well under the hood. The upgraded cooling system works hard to make sure things run smoothly, and while temperatures can climb, they're never uncomfortable or concerning. Yes, a larger device is going to draw more out of its components. A like-for-like Alienware M16, for example, beat the Omen in dedicated benchmarks and in-game testing, apart from Hitman 3, strangely, but the fact that that performance was only boosted by between 2 and 8% is testament to the Transcend's overall efficiency and design.